They call me Mark with a C. Welcome to the best ride in town. Whether Lyft or Uber, you know that I'm down to get you to your destination. Safe and sound, but you'd better buckle up, just in case I screw it up.
Best ride in town. Come on, ridesharewithmark.com.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Rideshare with Mark. This is a story episode. I just had a ride experience that I thought was worth sharing. I picked up a middle-aged couple at a bar, piano bar, and was taking them home. And as soon as they get in the car, I said hello, greeted them. They noticed that there was an unusual ride with a lot of lights and so on. But the female says, "Hey, can you be our relationship counselor?" And I said, I think she said that our therapist. She said, "Can you be our therapist?" And I said, "Sure." I said, "That's always part of my job as a driver." And so immediately she begins describing this episode that happened in the piano bar, where apparently she had requested, she's a big fan of Frank Sinatra. She asked me, "Can you pronounce Sinatra and spell it?" I said, "Sure, Sinatra, Sinatra. Okay. She says, "See, he knows." And it's okay, I'm wondering where this is going. And she says, "Well, this young black pianist in the bar, we asked him to play Sinatra or whatever, and he did, but he said this was a song by Frank Sinatra." And she was very offended by this. Now, she's not Italian, but she's a huge Sinatra fan. Her fiancé, who's with her, is Italian, and she felt offended for him. She thought it was some kind of a dig or some type of an insult towards Frank Sinatra that this piano player intentionally mispronounced his name. And so I think she wanted her fiancé to go up and say something or do something about this dig, and he didn't care to. And so she went up and said something to the bartender and said, "Hey, tell your friend, I find that offensive that he said, Frank Sinatra. That's kind of a nasty dig or whatever." And I guess the bartender was rude to her, and so they had left the bar somewhat upset, and she was somehow upset with him for not being upset with the pianist, and she was sure that this piano player had intentionally slighted Frank Sinatra. And so she's trying to explain it to me, and he's getting frustrated that she's even brought it up. He says, "Why are you going on about this? Why don't you let it go?" And she's like, "Why don't you, stand up for things that, he says, certain things you'll stand up for and you'll stand your ground and to the bitter end, and other things you don't seem to care, And he's like, "I just don't want to talk about this anymore." And so she goes on. But the point is that at a certain point she starts making personal attacks. She says, "It makes me feel like you're not really a man, like you're not really don't have any backbone, and you won't stand up for anything, and whatever." And so it's starting to get really uncomfortable in the car, and he's saying, "Will you please just shut up?" And so I can tell they're about to really go at it. Like they're, whether or not they get into a full-on fight in the car, it was going to be a pretty uncomfortable evening, and they were going to have an all-out fight about this, which seemed to me like a kind of a silly thing to fight about. Like, okay, whether or not the guy was intentional about saying Sinatra's name wrong, like, you shouldn't let it affect your evening. But the ride had started rather differently than normal. I didn't get a chance to introduce myself properly or do the rap song or do anything to kind of liven the mood. And it was going very quickly south with this couple, entering into, serious argument territory. And so when there was a break in conversation for a second, I said, "So, you want to hear my driver rap?" I'm like, huh, what? I said, well, I have this rap thing, this rap song that I do to introduce passengers to the features of the ride. I said, would you like to hear it? And I said, sure, I guess, yeah, whatever, And so I did turn on my beat, and I did my rap thing. And she's, at the beginning, because I'm also filming for the YouTube channel, I want to film people's reactions to that rap song and montage them together into a music video of the song. And I'm thinking, boy, this reactions video is not going to be very good of this couple, because she's still kind of mad. He's trying to, he's starting to chuckle and get going with the thing. And she's digging for her phone. She wanted to film it, so halfway through, she gets her phone out and she starts filming the rap thing. But it did the job. It lightened the mood. It kind of cut off the argument. And then I introduced karaoke, asked her what her go-to, karaoke thing was, and we found a country song that she liked. And she sang karaoke. I sang the chorus with her. And, it just became a fun ride. And there was light conversation about, what I do as a driver and all of that. And I tell this story because in the end, she thanked me for having lightened the mood and made their evening good again when it was getting kind of not good. And he also thanked me, and I said, look, don't stress your guy about this piano player, regardless of whether it was intentional, unintentional, whatever he did, I said, it's not worth ruining your evening over something like that. And I said, just, enjoy each other, enjoy the evening, glad I could be here to give you a pleasant ride home, and left it at that. They gave me a nice tip, and they were happy. And I've had couples that got in the car before that were, you could tell they were just having a fight when they got in the car. Sometimes they're just super quiet for a while, and then he might speak up and say, babe, what's wrong? Why are you being this way? Whatever. And then the fight starts, and they go back and forth. I had one couple where she was, she didn't want to fight in front of a strange Uber driver. And so she just kept trying to say, I'll tell you later or whatever. And he was pressing her, and then eventually the argument came out. My point is that, there's obviously one instinct as a driver would be simply mind your business. So what was the saying about, there's a proverb in the Old Testament about a fool who grabs an angry dog by the ears or something like that. The point is, if you get in the middle of a fight between two dogs and you grab this dog by the ears, now you're kind of stuck there. Like, you can't let go or the dog will bite you, and yet you're just making the dog more and more angry. So do you butt in the middle of an argument between two strangers in your car as a driver? Do you try to lighten the mood? Do you try to distract or entertain? Or do you just stay super quiet, drive, and hope to get them to their destination and just completely butt out? It's probably safer to butt out, and there are definitely times when I've just kept my peace. But if you think there's a chance, in this case, they had engaged me in the conversation. They had asked me to be a therapist. So as a therapist, what I would say is this is not a thing that you need to fight about. Like, this is not worth dragging each other through the mud over. And, hey, why don't we sing karaoke? Why don't we change the subject? Why don't we do anything else but have this argument? And it worked. And because it worked, I would encourage you to at least try to see if you have the opportunity, see if you have the ability to interject a little bit and maybe turn somebody's night around. And maybe instead of a couple's fight escalating in your car and then they end up having a big knockout, drag down, brawl at home afterwards, maybe there's a way to diffuse it. As a neutral third party, to say, hey, you guys are out on a date together tonight. Is it really worth ruining your night over this issue, or is this something you guys can get past? Hey, why don't we do some karaoke together, or why don't we, and they may not accept that, and they may not like it, whatever, but I think that we have an opportunity as drivers to have an influence on people's day and on people's relationships sometimes. So I give you that story, which has a happy ending. I believe, hopefully, like I said, hopefully they didn't go back in the house and continue that argument. I think they both kind of felt the ridiculousness of it, and were past it by the time they got home. So hopefully, like I said, look for those opportunities, look for those ways where you can make a difference for people. That's all I got for now. Stay tuned and subscribe to the podcast, the YouTube channel. Check out ridesharewithmark.com for links to all of these things. And I'll catch you next time.
Best ride in town. Come on. Ridesharewithmark.com.